With Pixar's latest movie, Elio, officially out, we wanted to see how the story about an imaginative little boy caught up in a cosmic misadventure stacks up when compared to the studio's other 28 movies. We're ranking every Pixar movie from worst to best in our official Pixar tier list. Let us know how right or wrong, but mostly right, we are in the comments. While there aren't many movies that belong this low, we have a couple entries that belong in the D tier. Our bottom pick has to be The Good Dinosaur. Some fans have argued that there isn't any bad Pixar movie in an objective sense. This movie being at the bottom actually supports that argument. It isn't at the lowest spot because it's particularly awful or anything. In fact, it's perfectly serviceable. The reason it's at the bottom regardless is summed up in one word: boring. A bad movie at least can be fun to watch, and in some cases even a mediocre movie can. The Good Dinosaur doesn't have any glaring issues in terms of objective quality, but it's nonetheless dragged down by just how impressively boring it is. The characters are forgettable, the story's forgettable, and the only thing to really praise it for is the animation, which really is just second nature for Pixar. You'd think a story addressing the question, hey, what if dinosaurs never went extinct, would be super interesting, but man, this one dropped the ball. It's baffling that the same studio that made interesting stories out of bugs, sentient toys, and even just feelings couldn't do the same for a concept as universally loved as dinosaurs. The Good Dinosaur just doesn't live up to its name. Well, except Dinosaur. It does have dinosaurs. Now, say what you will in terms of quality, but Cars 2 is the absolute furthest thing from boring. This movie is the reason we clarified that some fans say there's no bad Pixar movie. This seems to be the near universal exception to that rule.
Congratulations, man!
The structure of this movie is an absolute mess. I mean, it's a sports movie and a spy movie in a blender, and if that weren't already a ridiculous enough concept, it stars sentient vehicles. Oh, and of course, Mater is the spy, which means this is one of those sequels that forces the lovable comic relief into overstaying his welcome.
I really am just a tow truck.
We love Mater and all, but, well, we love him in moderation. While Pixar's no stranger to absolutely wild concepts, it usually has the storytelling prowess to make something both fun and coherent out of it.
German truck.
Request acknowledged.
Check it out. I'm wearing Mater hoodies. Make me a monster truck.
Request acknowledged.
What the?
But, as noisy and messy as this movie is, at least it's interesting. In terms of objective quality, it's absolutely Pixar's least impressive movie, but at least it's fun to watch. Even if it's in a so bad it's good sense, you can't tell me that watching a tow truck voiced by Larry the Cable Guy becoming a super spy to defeat a terrorist isn't infinitely more entertaining than Dinosaur Have Farm. But those two actually are the only ones in the bottom tier. We're moving on to the movies that are okay. These are the C tier movies. To Nowhere Near Infinity or Beyond, Lightyear takes the next spot. We'll give this movie credit in a few areas. It has stellar animation, even by Pixar standards. Socks is adorable, and quite frankly carries this movie, and the final act is actually pretty interesting. The use of Zurg as the main villain was inevitable, sure, but the twist of him being a dark, alternate future version of Buzz was pretty unexpected and honestly kinda cool.
This is a new now that's never been lived. You see, we can change things, Buzz.
Aside from that though, Lightyear is an action movie that doesn't move anywhere near as fast as it ought to. For a movie starring Buzz Lightyear of all characters, there's very little done with the space setting. If that didn't hurt our engagement enough, the color palettes are seriously dull, which means they honestly complement the forgettable cast, except Socks, as well.
Socks, how long were we gone?
Meow, 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 meow. 22 years, 19 weeks, and 4 days.
Whoa.
It would have been way cooler to have this be an action-packed battle against evil, with vibes similar to the 90s cartoon. But sadly, for all its good points, Lightyear does not reach anywhere near the heights Pixar's capable of. Just barely beating it out is Toy Story 4. Man, remember how Toy Story 3 was like the perfect conclusion to the Toy Story saga? How satisfying and gut-wrenching that final so long partner was. It's as if the movie was saying to the audience, hey, you're growing up, and that's okay. Well, screw all that. Woody and the gang are back with a story that absolutely assassinates my boy's character.
Okay, you know what? Leave that to us. We know exactly what to do.
Toy Story 4 isn't a bad movie by any means, but coming off an incredibly strong trilogy, it just pales in comparison. There's some decent humor, and it's nice to see more of Bo Peep, given how little screen time she had for the first 3 movies. Forky is also a pretty endearing character, and the other new side characters are cute at best and unremarkable at worst. Aside from that, this movie just doesn't warrant its own existence. That might sound harsh, but come on, the ending is practically begging the audience to recapture the feeling of that emotional ending from 3. Woody staying with Bo Peep and separating from Buzz and Bonnie is something he would never dream of doing in the first few movies, so it really feels like Pixar is just begging you to cry, minus the ability to actually, make you. It's mildly funny at best and an unnecessary cash grab at worst. Here's hoping that Toy Story 5 can be better. Look, I can't even finish that sentence sincerely. Let's just move on. While it's not an arrow-splitting bullseye, Brave is a movie that deserves more credit than it gets. It's not anywhere near Pixar's best, mind you. The world and characters aren't all that memorable compared to the studio's usual fare, and the visuals, while great as always, are a bit duller than we'd like from Pixar. Nothing near bad, just not up to Pixar's usual standards. But this movie has a lot of good qualities as well. Merida isn't the most likable main character. She's honestly handled pretty well as a selfish, bratty teenager who learns her lesson. It helps that her mother, Eleanor, isn't perfect either, and both of the two are forced to grow and change as people in order to save themselves and mend their bond. The scene of them roughing it in the forest to the end is when the movie's at its strongest, giving an important message that neither parents nor growing kids are exempt from becoming better people.
You've always been there for me.
The villain kinda sucks though, like he's literally just a bear. The villain who's literally a teddy bear felt like more of a threat than him. Cars is crossing the finish line of this category. Cars is simple enough, really. It's a fun sports movie about an arrogant jerk learning to humble himself and accept help from others. The friendship between Tow Mater and Lightning is genuinely very sweet, and they honestly have more chemistry than it feels like Lightning and Sally have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I scare you?
Well, a little bit, but I'll be all right.
It's okay, Mater. He'll notice you one day. Really though, while Cars isn't the most thought-provoking, tightly written, emotionally impactful movie out there, it's just fine.
Boy, we ain't as dumb as you think we are.
We have a cute, fun cast of characters, a nice redemption arc for the main character, a simple concept you can turn your brain off and relax with. It's a fun, perfectly fine movie, and that's good enough for the top of the C tier. It's not quite good enough, however, to reach the higher slots on our list. This is the B tier. Man, this is gonna tick some of you guys off. Incredibles 2. In its own right, and let us emphasize, in its own right, this movie isn't bad. As a sequel to The Incredibles, yeah, it kinda sucks, but it's not because this is a bad movie.
We did it!
There are some fantastic visuals, pretty great action scenes, a good sense of humor, etc., etc. Unfortunately, while the movie is perfectly fine, it still forgets what made Incredibles 1 so special, which, in no small part, was that it was a satire of superhero movies and the concept of superhuman society in general. That witty kind of criticism, witticism, if you will, is pretty much absent from Incredibles 2.
We want to fight bad guys.
No, you don't.
And when you tack on a significantly weaker villain, it makes this one hard for hardcore fans of the original to enjoy. It may seem that much of what we complained about with this film is the same as what we did for Toy Story 4, but we hold this movie in slightly higher regard because it does retain some of what made the first movie good. The action scenes are great, the animation is spectacular, it's pretty darn funny, it's just not good as a sequel is all. It's an okay movie, but that's about the nicest we can say. This one might be a bit surprising, but next is Cars 3. And if it is surprising to you, well, you're not alone. It's easy to forget that there even was a Cars 3, with how little people talk about this series genuinely in comparison to other Pixar properties. Shockingly enough though, Cars 3 is actually a pretty solid movie. No, it's not a fake out, I'm serious. This movie does a good job of fleshing out Lightning McQueen as a character, a sentence I never expected myself to say, mind you, as he slowly but surely comes to the realization that he's not in his prime anymore. The movie is honestly kind of an existential nightmare, as Lightning accepts that his best years are behind him and there's literally nothing he can do about it.
Lesson 1. You're old. Accepted.
I told him that.
We see him work with new character crews to train and hopefully regain his identity as Speed. But that never happens, and he has to accept that it's time to pass the torch.
Which makes it my last chance to give you your first chance, Cruz.
For a movie about talking cars, this movie has some decent emotional weight to it, not to mention this being by far the most likable Lightning has been. Also, can we talk about Mater's hat that's literally shaped like a racetrack with a moving Lightning McQueen on it? I kinda want one. Graduating to the next spot on this list is Monsters University. We're really switching things up now. No more sequels, baby, until the next sequel we talk about, because this is a prequel movie. Have you ever wondered what it was like for Mike and Sully in college? No? Oh, well, you might be pleasantly surprised. Monsters University doesn't hold a candle to its predecessor, but it's actually worth a watch for big fans.
Oh, man! I can't be late on the first day!
The bond between Mike and Sully is fleshed out really nicely in this movie, and it has some surprisingly hard-hitting scenes. Both Mike and Sully face the reality that not everyone can reach the dreams they strive for. It's an important message to show, especially in the fairy tale-filled world of Disney and Pixar movies. The two both learn that they have limits. but they also learn what they're good at. And this bittersweet message is the foundation of one of Pixar's most endearing friendships. That said, the movie's definitely at its best when it's focusing on Mike and Sully's relationship, which is mainly the latter half, particularly the third act. While the rest of the movie is just fine, it doesn't compare to those peaks with Mike and Sully.
Mom, we're doing an initiation!
Oh, scary. Well, carry on. Just pretend I'm not here.
But those scenes are so darn good, they elevate this movie a lot higher than it would be otherwise. Next, we have another movie about a big fuzzy monster, but more of a metaphorical one. Turning Red is the story of Malin Lee, a confident, sheltered kid who's turning 13 and, as a result, is facing the horrors of growing up.
What's happening to me?
You've heard similar stories. Kid wants to do thing, parent doesn't want kid to do thing, hilarity ensues. But joking summaries aside, this is a decent coming-of-age movie. It has some fun slapstick, some pretty hard-hitting emotional moments that hit on the themes of generational trauma, and a surprisingly epic climactic battle. The worst we could really say about this movie is that, at times, it can be a little... okay, it's really cringeworthy at times. But say what you will, that doesn't come anywhere near canceling out all the movie's good qualities. We're just gonna keep swimming down the list. Next is Finding Dory. The long-awaited sequel to Finding Nemo, Finding Dory puts the titular character in the spotlight on a quest to find her family. On that note, the scenes between baby Dory and her parents are quite possibly the cutest things Pixar's ever created. Not only that, but they tell a heartwarming, sensitively executed story about the struggles of being or supporting someone with a disability.
I suffer from short-term memory loss.
Yes!
That's exactly what you say.
Dory is an endearing character, but she's not treated like a joke. And while her disability takes the spotlight, so do her own individual strengths, from her bilinguality to her vast knowledge of marine life. That kind of representation is probably important for a lot of the kids and even adults in the audience.
Dory!
Yes.
You and I were friends!
No.
The new characters are great too. We mentioned Dory's parents already, but Hank, the Septopus, also makes for a fun dynamic with his new blue buddy. If we had to sincerely criticize the movie for anything, honestly, it's just Marlin. It really feels off-putting that he's being such a jerk to Dory for most of the movie, especially given how hard Dory worked to help him, find Nemo.
I guess that's true, isn't it?
But on the whole, Finding Dory is a solid sequel, definitely worth watching for the adorable baby Dory scenes alone. Narrowly missing out on A tier is the latest Pixar movie, Elemental. We'll be straight up with you. This movie's placement is entirely thanks to its animation. Everything about the movie is perfectly fine. Don't get us wrong. Decent characters, pretty good voice acting, a cute love story, albeit one with pretty slow pacing, and some surprisingly hard-hitting moments.
Nothing weird going on here.
Just a little pruning.
But let's not beat around the bush. My gosh, this movie looks amazing. The colors, the way each individual element looks, the visual gags that results, heck, even the element of Ember's glass carving talent is just so satisfying to look at. Frankly, this movie is worth a watch for the animation alone, and if you're a sucker for cutesy Hallmark-esque romance movies, this is the absolute perfect recommendation for you. We're now entering the top 15, and already the movies have gone from good to great. This is the A tier. Look, we really wish we could put Luca even higher on the list. Heck, you could say that about most of the movies from here on out, but don't let its placement fool you. Luca is a fantastic movie with an endearing story, cute visuals, and a nice world to explore. The friendship between Luca, Alberto, and Giulia is super sweet and gives the movie a great emotional core.
Can you dodge obstacles? What if an old lady crosses your path?
As Luca struggles with his obligation to obey his parents, who, protective as they are, really just want to keep him safe, he slowly grows a desire to see more of the surface world, which adds some tension to a fun story. As for why it's not any higher, well, while Luca is a solid movie, the whole family aspect of it feels like it's almost forgotten by the second half, which wouldn't be a huge issue if it didn't take up so much time in the first act. The movie is at its best when it focuses on Luca and Alberto in the surface world, which, thankfully, is the bulk of it. Don't get too emotional about Inside Out not making it any higher. This movie has a message the kids are not given enough. It is okay to be sad. I mean, the whole movie is about joy learning that while happiness is great, it's not the only important emotion, and if you stifle the others, bad things can happen. The movie's also really fun, with vivid colors, fun character designs, and a nice balance of whimsy and genuine heart.
I'm almost set to take Riley to the moon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Great.
Inside Out's the first movie on the list we feel shows off Pixar's full potential, if you will, which, considering it's right in the middle, is a nice sign of things to come. Believe us when we say, though, the rest of this list was hard to put in order, and placing Inside Out this low was one of the hardest choices, especially because we don't even have a reason to give as to why it's here. It's just that the other movies are a little better in our book. Here's hoping the sequel will do it justice too. We'll finally get to meet Anxiety, a character who's tempting me to sue Pixar for plagiarizing my life. And several months after writing that, it's official. Inside Out 2 is pretty much just as great as the original, to the point where we'd honestly consider them practically interchangeable.
What do you mean, we?
While it isn't quite as profound as the first, we're giving Inside Out 2 the very slight upper hand for the fact that it managed to capture the spirit of the original and bring audiences a more mature message.
I can take notes, get coffee, manage your calendar, walk your dog, carry your things, watch you sleep.
Wow, you have a lot of energy.
With anxiety being the huge issue it is today, a movie that helps to both humanize it and highlight just how toxic it can be when it gets out of control is just what the world needed. If there's one thing we could confidently say the sequel does even better than the original, it's the comedy.
Do you remember his power move?
I shall set you all free!
We're doomed.
The scenes with Lance and Bloofy have some of the best jokes in Pixar history, and you've got to respect a movie that can make you laugh and cry.
Oh, nicknames. I'm gonna call you Wee Wee.
No. Whether or not YouTube film critics will tear this one apart remains to be seen, but as far as we're concerned, Inside Out 2 did a surprisingly great job of keeping the same heart of the original. Just please don't ruin that streak, guys. Alright, jokes aside, definitely not cries for help aside, next we have A Bug's Life. This is Pixar's second ever movie after Toy Story and before Toy Story 2 and Monsters Inc. Yeah, easy to see how it gets buried with a lot of fans' memories, huh? Worry not, A Bug's Life is a fantastic movie with a huge cast of memorable characters, and what's best is that every one of them improves by the end. The circus bugs all come into their own, Flick learns to take responsibility for his missteps, and the other bugs learn to appreciate him and his inventions a lot more. We also can't ignore how great of a villain Hopper is. I mean, it really only took them 2 movies for Pixar's villains to go from kid who's kind of a jerk to literal fascist dictator. That's impressive, as was his surprisingly brutal death. Man, was this really a kids movie? Well, we don't have to ask that for this one. Toy Story is one of the most iconic kids movies out there. It's the movie that inspired us all to play and imagine harder than ever.
All right, everyone, this is a stick-up. Don't anybody move.
Buzz and Woody are 2 of the most iconic Pixar characters out there. Woody going from a loyal, lovable jerk to a team player and a true leader, and Buzz slowly accepting his identity as a toy.
Buzz, will you get up here and give me a hand?
It's a fun, imaginative adventure that just cuts to the heart of what Pixar movies have always been about.
Go on without me. Just go.
A good soldier never leaves a man behind.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, it feels like a crime to not be able to put Toy Story higher, but this isn't the last we'll be seeing of Woody and Buzz. Worry not. Onward to our next entry. Onward, which was actually a very pleasant surprise. Pixar's whole shtick is taking mundane, or at least already explored, ideas and making them something truly special. With that said, Onward was a risky move. A topic as broad as magic in modern society could have easily given us another Good Dinosaur on our hands. Thankfully, Onward is actually a blast. It's about 2 brothers, both of whom are flawed but likable, learning to appreciate each other and who they are and what they have therein. We see Ian overcome his own insecurities slowly but surely as he seeks out a chance to meet his dearly departed father for just one day. He has to work with his more bombastic older brother Barley, who learns to overcome his own, well, overconfidence. Really, while the road less traveled is often better in the long run, it isn't always better.
You guys are in trouble big time.
These 2 have a relationship that's the center of the movie, and it's the vast majority of its focus, which definitely works in its favor. Landing just outside of our top 10 is the newest Pixar movie, Elio. We had high hopes for Elio since the trailers made it look pretty darn appealing, and as great as Inside Out 2 was, it made us wonder if Pixar would only be going for sequels from here on out. Thankfully, if you ask us, its newest original offering is sure to be a modern-day classic. If we had to describe Elio in just one sentence, we'd say it's the closest thing Pixar has to a Lilo and Stitch of its own. A movie that's made up of both silly sci-fi fun and genuine heart and character growth. It's a much-needed movie this summer since the actual Lilo and Stitch remake was, it certainly was. This movie, like the real Lilo and Stitch, does a great job of exploring themes of family, loneliness, and just basic connection. The main ensemble cast is fantastic. For one thing, Elio was a great protagonist who really hammers in just how strange he is, and his Tia Olga acts as a perfect foil, both struggling to make Elio feel accepted and understood, but always sincerely trying at the end of the day. Then there are all the goofy space characters, from Glordon, who is honestly a candidate for the most adorable sidekick in Pixar history, to Gregon, who somehow manages to be both intimidating and genuinely endearing. Every major character in the cast is something to write home about, and that's to say nothing of the adorable side characters like, ooh, the liquid supercomputer. Seriously, I love this little guy. He has this vibe that can't be captured in words, and I admire that about him. Now, one critique I've seen of this movie is that the pacing is a little bit fast, and I think that that's a valid take, but I actually feel like it works in the movie's favor. This movie has to tell a story across multiple galaxies, and it's only natural that they need a lot of time to do that. The movie doesn't rush showing Elio's bond with his aunt and his desire to join space aliens. It just takes only as long as it needs in order to illustrate all that, and I love it. Character building should never be skipped. But sometimes it's great to just take a little time to lay the foundation of the movie so you can get right into the space adventure stuff. And with a great soundtrack, voice cast, and visuals, there's plenty of good presentation to enjoy throughout the journey. But to really justify why we've placed it higher than so many classics, we need to go a little in depth, so spoiler warning. What absolutely makes this movie are the character dynamics. We only see part of both Elio and Olga's mindsets until they're separated. Once Elio becomes friends with Glordon, another kid who feels like an outsider in his own family, we start to see that he's not just worried about the world not accepting him, but about whether he's really deserving of acceptance. What's beautiful about their friendship is that both of them seem to fully realize that the other's parental figure truly loves them, which eventually helps them see that in their own guardians, once they open up to them.
Hi, Dad. I'm a bargaining chip.
No, say the other thing.
That leads us into Kristijan and Olga. First things first, we love how there was never a moment where Olga wasn't painted in a sympathetic light, even when she made mistakes. Likewise, the movie never acted like Elio was the bad guy for having a hard time accepting her, and that made their arc all the more rewarding to watch pay off. We see Olga go above and beyond to understand Elio once he's gone, admitting how much she missed everything about him, culminating in one of the sweetest emotional climaxes Pixar has given us in years. But honestly, Kristijan's arguably had even more of a sweet conclusion. This dude is willing to sacrifice his honor, reputation, and his sweet robot battle armor just to swaddle his son up so he doesn't freeze. The beautiful thing about it is that this doesn't make Kristijan one of those misunderstood villains. He's absolutely portrayed as a villain, a proper villain, but it's only in the end that we see how much he cares about his son, enough to completely throw that evil reputation in the trash just to save him. Elio honestly blew us away, and if there was any doubt that Pixar could still make some pretty incredible original projects, this movie absolutely vaporized it. The only real complaint we have about Elio is the treatment of the side characters, most notably the ambassadors, who didn't really do much of anything except for a few scenes. We feel like more could have been done with them, but the main cast's strength more than made up for it. Elio is a modern day classic, and probably one of my personal favorite Pixar movies, but some of the older classics just can't be beaten that easily. Oh, these two are back already? Wasn't expecting that, but alright. Toy Story 2 is next. A worthy sequel indeed. Whereas Toy Story 1 saw Buzz accepting his identity as a toy, the sequel sees Woody accepting his as, specifically, Andy's toy. He struggles between loyalty to his owner and to his new friends Stinky Pete, Bullseye, and Jessie. The world building here is top shelf stuff. We see more of both Woody and Buzz's origin worlds, from an old school kids show Woody came from to Buzz's own video game where he, and Rex to a lesser extent, vie to defeat the evil Emperor Zurg.
But look at my little arms! I can't press the fire button and jump at the same time!
There's not much complex stuff to say about why this movie is so darn good. It just is, man. The old characters get more screen time, the new characters are all great, Al makes a good antagonist, and Stinky Pete makes a solid twist villain with a motivation we actually don't entirely hate him over. Let us cook with our next entry, Ratatouille. As if I weren't hungry enough already, now we've got a movie about a rat learning to become a gourmet chef by controlling a clumsy kitchen worker from inside a hat. It's a heartwarming story of the relationship between man and rat. Okay, more seriously, it's about how you shouldn't let yourself give up on dreams because of how others see you. Ratatouille is less of a spectacle than other Pixar movies, but that works in its favor a lot. The harsh realities of life aren't downplayed by any means, like that brutal scene where Remy's dad shows him exactly why rats aren't welcomed in the big city.
We live in belongs to the enemy. We must live carefully.
But at the same time, that Pixar magic is there. It's realistic, but it's also fun and inspirational. Like that Anton Ego scene shows, sometimes it's the simplest stuff that can leave the biggest impact. And if there's any movie that demonstrates that even better than Ratatouille, it's arguably Soul, which rounds out this category. I'll go on record saying that this is the hardest hitting Pixar movie. That scene of Joe slowly realizing that the point of life is just living in and of itself, man, that's a message that's never going to stop being relevant. This whole movie is about a guy who's desperate to get back to life so he can fulfill his dream, only to realize he's missed out on everything important along the way.
I'm just afraid that if I died today, that my life would have amounted to nothing.
I mean, it's still not a perfect movie, the pacing is all over the place, and at times it feels like it drags on a bit, but that beautiful message elevates it to a level few other movies in general have reached, let alone kids' films. Soul is a movie that lived up to its name, and honestly inspired us to just enjoy life more. Not thinking about it, just doing it. Give this one a shot, you won't regret it. As for us, we'll follow it up by moving into our top 7. These are the cream of the crop, the quintessential S-tier Pixar movies. Let's go loco for Coco to kick off this category. A unique visual style, check. Strong emotion, emotional core with families ban on music. Check. Now brace yourselves for this one. An actually good twist villain? Check, baby. Coco is one of the best Pixar films in recent years. The slow burn execution of Grandma Coco's story makes the ending one of the most powerful in Pixar history. And what's great is that the build-up makes it easy to get there. Coco is nicely paced, beautifully animated, and executed fantastically with one of the best overall stories in any Pixar movie.
You're murdering the love of my life!
Who the? She's talking about me!
I'm the love of your life.
I don't know, I'm still angry at you.
The only reason it's not even higher is that the next movies are just that good. Just outside of the top 5 floats up. The introduction of this movie needs no introduction. Carl and Ellie's love story is told in just a few minutes, but it's magical enough to act as a strong emotional center to the rest of the movie. Carl just straight up doesn't enjoy life anymore, but that changes when he's faced with eviction and decides to carry his house away via balloon-powered air travel. He unknowingly takes along Russell, a neighborhood kid who slowly but surely becomes like the son he and Ellie were never able to have. It's an incredibly touching movie with one of the strongest beginnings and endings in the studio's history. That said, the middle of the movie, while great and blessing us with the legendary Doug.
My master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel!
Pale in comparison to just how incredible those bookends are. We're entering top 5 territory now, and we're kicking it off with Finding Nemo. It's been said before that when you take the whole talking fish aspect out of the equation, Finding Nemo does not sound like a kid's movie.
Hi, I'm Dory.
Hi, Dory.
And well, I don't think I've ever eaten a fish.
Hi, that's incredible. Good on you, mate.
It's a story about a widowed father on a desperate search for his kidnapped son, allied only with a woman who suffers a memory-afflicting disability. Oh, but don't go thinking you can just forget the undersea setting. This is still one of Pixar's most beautiful movies, with some of the best underwater visuals out there, even to this day. On top of all of that, the humor is top-notch. All the major characters are memorable and lovable, and the movie is as sugary sweet as it is heartbreaking.
Don't touch the Nemo!
He touched the butt.
You'll laugh and cry when you watch Finding Nemo, but most importantly, you'll just keep swimming. Fittingly, The Incredibles is up next, showing that it's worthy of its title. Superhero movies have to do a lot to stand out, especially with how many there are out there. 20 years later, The Incredibles still proves itself one of the best in the genre, and one of Pixar's best in general. Mr. Incredible is one of the best written heroes in Pixar history.
Showtime.
And Syndrome is one of, if not the best villain therein.
I'm a new superhero. I'm Syndrome!
The movie gets shockingly dark for a family film, from Syndrome threatening to outright kill Bob's family and being willing to let Mirage die, to the various controversies involving superhero society in general. The Incredibles is a truly incredible movie that deserves every bit of praise it gets. It remains not only one of Pixar's finest movies, but a movie that redefines its own genre. If you enjoy other media that satirizes superheroes like Invincible, The Boys, or My Hero Academia, you can thank Mr. Incredible and the gang. Our only complaint is the lack of clarity on the movie's greatest question: where was Frozone's super suit?
You tell me what my suit is, woman! We are talking about the greater good!
Greater good? I am your wife. I'm the greatest good you are ever gonna get.
We may never know now. The bronze medal of cinematic greatness, wasn't really sure what to call that one, goes to Toy Story 3, which rounds out Pixar's most iconic film franchise. We said it before, Toy Story 3 was the perfect conclusion to the Toy Story series. All the main characters get time to shine, the themes of growing up are as timeless as they are gut-wrenching, and the new cast members are fantastic too, especially Lotso, who honestly rivals Syndrome as one of the greats in terms of Pixar villains.
Donated by this Andy, huh? Well, it's his law, Sheriff. He can't hurt you no more.
Whoa.
Now let's get you all settled in.
Seriously, whether you like tragic, sympathetic villains or plain old pure evil ones, this guy fits the bill. He's offered redemption at one point, which you'd hope for, given how rough his life has been, and he blatantly throws it away.
Hey, buddy, you might want to keep your mouth shut.
Lotso is just one of the great attributes this movie has. It's surprisingly tense, with an intimidating cast of villains and suspenseful prison break segments. Heck, Buzz practically gets lobotomized at one point. This gets into borderline horror at points, and we love to see it. But really, this movie would be nowhere without the incredible finale where Andy says farewell to his old toys, introducing them to Bonnie, and finally, those toys say goodbye to us.
So long.
It's a beautiful conclusion to the franchise, and we're really glad there was never any other scene in an unnecessary sequel that undid it. Now, the top 2 were extremely difficult to decide between. Heck, this whole tier has been, but we're giving the runner-up position to Monsters, Inc. This is peak family-friendly cinema.
Oh, great.
The characters? They are few, but they are proud. Mike and Sully, best friendship in Pixar history. Boo, absolutely adorable. We will kill for her. And Randall and Waternoose? Holy crap, these two are terrifying villains. You have your sympathetic, or at least understandable villain in Waternoose, and your pure evil menace in Randall, who's honestly every bit as scary now as he was watching it as a kid.
Mama, another gator got in the house.
Another gator? Give me that shovel. Come here.
Get him on.
Every other aspect of the movie is great too. This is one of the most fun worlds Pixar has ever come up with, on top of having a great sense of humor and some strong, intense moments as well.
I'm thinking about getting it cut.
No, I like it this length.
We don't have any complex reason as to why this movie is so high up. Monster Inc. is just plain fun. This movie is a blast in every area. It's charming, it's funny, it's imaginative, and it's even scary at times. But there's one movie we find ourselves impressed by even more. This is sure to be a divisive pick, but we're crowning WallE as Pixar's greatest film to date. This movie is brilliant in every sense of the word. The color scheme starts out dull on Earth, but given the post-apocalyptic nature of the movie, that makes sense. This story firmly believes in the rule, show, don't tell, and it slowly but surely takes you from the destitute, now hopeless planet Earth to the dystopian Axiom ship where humanity resides. This movie is a cautionary tale for humanity, and what's both terrifying and brilliant is that it's only going to become more relevant as time goes on.
Yes.
As the world falls apart, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and everyone has to do a little less for themselves, we slip ever so slowly closer into the Axiom's seats.
And do not return to Earth. Repeat, do not return to Earth. Let's get the heck out of here.
Oh, but don't go thinking it's not a fun movie. There are cute robots falling in love, which kickstarts the movie in general, and by extension, the redemption of Earth as an inhabitable planet. There are also some endearing humans, and the overall theme of humanity realizing that there's hope for the world yet, one little sprout at a time. The scene of the captain taking his first steps to shut down Otto is one of the most inspiring scenes in Pixar history, as weird as that may sound. But if all that doesn't convince you, MO. We hope we've convinced you and that you'll tell us your favorite Pixar films in the comments, but for us, this beautiful cautionary tale reigns supreme.